Most of us know George Washington, but America wasn't built by one person. It was built by 40 remarkable people whose stories still have something to teach us today. Not to worry, there's no quiz at the end, just insight. So stick around until the end. America turns 250 years old in 2026. We begin with the ideas that built America. These are the voices that inspired a nation. George Washington, general and our first president. George Washington nearly lost the Revolution before he ever won it. During the winter at Valley Forge, his army suffered from cold, hunger, and disease. During the winter of 1777 to 1778 at Valley Forge, the Continental Army faced severe hardships, including extreme cold, starvation, and rampant disease such as typhus, dysentery, and influenza, which resulted in the deaths of approximately 2,500 soldiers. Many believed the revolution would fail. Washington kept his army together and later helped lead America to victory. So what's the takeaway? Leadership often means staying the course when things seem hopeless. Next up, Thomas Paine, writer and the voice of independence. Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense in 1776. His words convinced many Americans that independence was possible. His writings spread quickly through the colonies, selling approximately 120,000 copies in just 3 months, which helped build support for the revolution. Here's the takeaway. Ideas can move people before armies ever do. John Adams, advocate for independence. John Adams argued for independence long before many leaders were ready, earning the nickname the Atlas of Independence. He helped guide the Continental Congress and later helped secure support for the new nation. His work often happened behind the scenes. Here's the takeaway. Sometimes courage means speaking up before others agree. Abigail Adams, early voice for liberty. Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, advised her husband, John, through letters during the Revolution. In her famous letter dated March 31st, 1776, "Remember the ladies," she urged leaders to remember the rights of women and families. Her words give us a window into life during the founding of America. So what's the takeaway? Good leaders listen to wise voices around them. Mercy Otis Warren, writer and patriot. Mercy Otis Warren wrote plays and essays that supported the patriot cause, to include plays like The Adulator in 1772 and The Group in 1775. She used her words to challenge British rule and encourage independence. She later wrote one of the first histories of the Revolution. Here's the takeaway. The written word can change history. Benjamin Franklin, statesman and diplomat. Benjamin Franklin helped unite the colonies and represented America in Europe. His work in France helped secure important support during the war. His efforts culminated in the Treaty of Alliance, which formalized French military and financial support essential to the American victory. He also helped shape the Constitution after the Revolution. Here's the takeaway. Relationships and diplomacy can win battles without firing a shot. You know, these people wrote so many letters that if they had email, America probably would have been founded in the spam folder. Patrick Henry, the voice of revolution. Patrick Henry inspired many Americans with his speeches. He delivered his most famous speech on March 23rd, 1775, at the Second Virginia Convention held at St. John's Church in Richmond. His words, including "Give me liberty or give me death," became a rallying cry for independence. He encouraged people to act when freedom was threatened. Now, here's the takeaway. Words can inspire people to do difficult things. Phyllis Wheatley, poet and patriot. Phyllis Wheatley became one of America's first published African American poets. She was one of the first women in America to publish a book of poetry with her 1773 collection, Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral. Her poems spoke about liberty, faith, and freedom. Her work showed that powerful ideas can come from unexpected places. Here's the takeaway. Great ideas can come from any person. In this group, the ideas that built America, here's the takeaway from all of it. Ideas can change a nation before armies ever do. We now turn to the men and women who fought for independence. Leaders who risked everything. These Americans fought, led, and sacrificed to help create the United States of America. Benedict Arnold, general before the betrayal. Before his betrayal, Benedict Arnold was one of America's best battlefield commanders. He helped win important victories like orchestrating the capture of Fort Ticonderoga in 1775, in Quebec from 1775 to 1776, and Saratoga in 1777. His later decision to join the British changed how history remembers him. Here's the takeaway. A lifetime of success can be damaged by one poor decision. Ethan Allen. No, this is not the furniture store that you're thinking of. This was the leader of the Green Mountain Boys. Ethan Allen led the Green Mountain Boys and helped capture Fort Ticonderoga in 1775. The victory gave the Patriots important artillery early in the war. They successfully captured the fort without firing a single shot. Here's the takeaway. Courage often means acting before others are ready. John Paul Jones, father of the American Navy. John Paul Jones was known for his daring raids and victories against the superior British Royal Navy. He fought the British at sea and became one of America's first naval heroes. During battle, he declared, "I have not yet begun to fight." Is it me or does anyone else get goosebumps after hearing that? It's crazy, right? Here's what stands out to me. Determination can overcome long odds. Daniel Morgan, frontier commander. On January 17, 1781, Daniel Morgan led skilled riflemen and won an important victory at the Battle of Cowpens in South Carolina. His leadership and tactics helped weaken British forces in the South. The British suffered over 600 casualties compared to only about 72 Americans. Here's the takeaway. Smart leadership can defeat a stronger opponent. You know, just a thought, but these people marched hundreds of miles carrying muskets and artillery. Meanwhile, we complain when the parking spot's too far away from the grocery store. Perspective, right? Francis Marion, famously known as the Swamp Fox. Francis Marion used surprise attacks, otherwise known as guerrilla warfare tactics, against British forces in South Carolina. His small force of 20 to 70 men moved quickly and became difficult to catch. Here's the takeaway. Flexibility can become a great advantage. Casimir Pulaski, father of the American cavalry. Casimir Pulaski came from Poland in 1777 to support the American cause. He helped organize American cavalry and later died from a grape shot, which was a cluster of small iron balls that he encountered during the siege of Savannah. Here's the takeaway. Freedom inspires people around the world. Nathaniel Greene, master of the Southern Campaign, Nathaniel Greene took command of American forces in December 1780 in the South. After a series of devastating American defeats, his strategy was to split up his own small army, which was risky, but slowly weakened British forces and helped lead to an American victory. Here's the takeaway. Patience and persistence can win difficult battles. Deborah Sampson, soldier in disguise. Deborah Sampson disguised herself as a man named Robert so she could serve in the Continental Army on May 23, 1782. She fought bravely for about 17 months. She was wounded at least twice. In one instance, she was shot in the shoulder. In another, she took a musket ball to the thigh, Fearing her discovery, she reportedly removed the bullet from her own leg with a penknife and a sewing needle. Later, she received an honorable discharge. Crazy, right? And we complain if we get so much as a splinter. Here's the takeaway. Determination can overcome barriers. Here's the takeaway from this group of the men and women who fought for independence. Courage, sacrifice, and leadership helped win American independence. We now turn to the hidden war for America. Spies, messengers, and secret heroes. Not every battle was fought on a battlefield. These Americans gathered information, carried messages, and risked everything to help create the United States of America. Starting off with James Armistead Lafayette, double agent and patriot. James Armistead Lafayette worked as a spy for the Patriot cause during the American Revolution. In 1781, James infiltrated the British camp of General Charles Cornwallis. He gathered information from the British forces and shared it with the Patriot leaders. His intelligence helped support the victory at Yorktown. Here's the takeaway. Information can change the outcome of a war. Benjamin Talmadge, leader of the Culper spy ring. Benjamin Talmadge organized one of America's most important spy networks. During the Revolutionary War, established in 1778 and requested by General George Washington himself, the Culper ring secretly gathered information in British-controlled New York and passed it to George Washington personally. Here's the takeaway. Great leaders succeed because of trusted teams. This next individual is a unique part of history. I never heard this before. One that I thought was pretty cool because of the name. Agent 355, the Mystery Patriot. Agent 355 remains one of the great mysteries of the Revolutionary War. Agent 355 was the code designation for a female associate. Historians believe she helped the Culper ring gather information against the British. Her true identity may never be known. Historians still argue about who Agent 355 really was. Somewhere on the internet, somebody is probably convinced it was George Washington's cousin. Here's the takeaway. Some heroes never receive recognition. Paul Revere, messenger of the Revolution. Paul Revere warned Patriot leaders that British troops were moving toward Lexington and Concord. On the night of April 18th, 1775, his midnight ride helped alert those communities by waking the leaders and triggering a wider network of riders who spread the alarm to the dozens of towns. Here's what stands out to me. Acting quickly can change history, and hesitation could get you killed, or in this case, captured. Robert Townsend, the quiet spy. Robert Townsend secretly collected information in New York while pretending to be a loyalist merchant and journalist for the British. His disguise allowed him to go to social gatherings where the British openly discussed military plans, and his reports helped George Washington understand enemy plans. Imagine being one of America's best spies and your reward is 250 years of nobody knowing who you are. It's crazy. Here's the takeaway. Important work is often done quietly, behind the scenes. Nathan Hale, patriot and spy. Nathan Hale, captain in the Continental Army, volunteered to gather information behind British lines. He was captured and executed in 1776. His courage made him one of America's most remembered spies. Here's the takeaway. Some people risk everything for what they believe. Lydia Dara, secret messenger. Lydia Dara secretly listened to a British meeting in her home and passed on the information during the British occupation in 1777 about British plans to surprise attack American forces. Her warning helped protect Patriot troops near Philadelphia. Here's the takeaway. Ordinary people can make extraordinary contributions. Hercules Mulligan, tailor and spy. Hercules Mulligan was an Irish-born tailor in New York City. He was a tailor to British officers and used his tailoring business to gather information from the British and he secretly passed valuable intelligence to the American cause. Mulligan is credited with saving George Washington's life on at least 2 occasions. Here's the takeaway. Your everyday skills can become powerful tools. Here's something worth remembering from this group of the Hidden War for America secrets. Information and trusted people helped win American independence. We now turn to the forgotten Americans, the ordinary people who helped shape an entire nation. Not every hero became famous. Some carried water, some carried muskets, some carried messages, others simply stood up when freedom needed them the most. Starting off with Billy Lee, George Washington's trusted companion, Billy Lee served alongside George Washington throughout much of the Revolutionary War. As Washington's enslaved valet, he traveled with him through many hardships, including the brutal winter at Valley Forge, alongside the Continental Army, sharing in the hardships of cold, hunger, and disease. Lee sometimes served as a scout or courier due to his knowledge of the land and horses. Washington later granted Billy Lee his freedom in his will. Here's the takeaway: trust is earned through loyalty, service, and character. Next up, Mary Ludwig Hayes, the woman behind the legend of Molly Pitcher. No, not pitcher as in baseball, pitcher as in water, and you'll find out why in a minute here, or in a second rather. Mary Ludwig Hayes, widely known as Molly Pitcher, served as a camp follower with the Continental Army. During the Battle of Monmouth on June 28, 1778, on an exceptionally hot day, temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit, Hayes tirelessly carried pitchers of water from a nearby spring to thirsty soldiers and to cool overheated cannons, which is how she earned the nickname Molly Pitcher. And according to long-standing tradition, after her husband collapsed, she stepped in to help operate his cannon. While parts of the famous Molly Pitcher story have grown through legend, Mary Hayes' service during the battle is well documented. Here's the takeaway from her. When others step back, ordinary people often step forward. Pedro Francisco, the Giant Patriot, with nicknames like the Virginia Giant or Hercules of the Revolution, Pedro Francisco was known for his remarkable strength and courage. Standing approximately 6 feet tall, he fought many battles and became one of the Revolution's most celebrated soldiers. While some stories about him have grown over time, his bravery and service are well documented. And here's the cool part with him. Your greatest strength means little unless you use it to help others. Salem Poor, a hero at Bunker Hill. Salem Poor purchased his own freedom back in 1769 before joining the Massachusetts militia in 1775. For a man named Poor, he turned out to be pretty rich in courage. Moving on, after purchasing his freedom, Salem Poor served as a free African-American soldier who fought with extraordinary courage at the Battle of Bunker Hill on June 17, 1775. His bravery impressed fellow officers so much that they signed a formal petition to the Massachusetts government praising his actions, making him one of the few soldiers to receive such recognition during the Revolutionary War. Now, here's the cool part. Character speaks louder than reputation, and excellence has a way of being remembered. Aaron Burr, a brave officer before politics. Most people remember Aaron Burr for his later controversial political career and his duel with Alexander Hamilton. But during the Revolutionary War, Burr served with courage under Benedict Arnold in 1775 at the age of 19, and later with George Washington's Army. He played a crucial role in the evacuation of Long Island and New York City, personally helping to save artillery and troops from capture. His military service deserves to be remembered alongside the rest of his complicated life. Here's one cool thing. One chapter of your life should not erase every chapter before that. Prudence Wright, the watchful patriot. Prudence Wright organized a group of 30 to 40 women, aka the Minute Women, who dressed in their husbands' clothes and guarded a bridge in Pepperell. Pepperell, Massachusetts, with muskets, pitchforks, and other available weapons. According to local historical accounts, they stopped a suspected British messenger carrying secret information. Their actions showed that communities could help defend the revolution in unexpected ways. Now, what's one example from this? You don't need a uniform to protect what matters most. Crispus Attucks, the first to fall. Crispus Attucks, a man of African and Native American descent, was killed on March 5, 1770 during the Boston Massacre. Many historians remember him as the first person to die in the struggle that led to the American Revolution. His death became a powerful symbol for those seeking liberty. Now, here's one lesson to take away from that. Sometimes history changes because one person chooses to stand their ground. Nancy Hart, a fearless patriot. Nancy Hart became one of Georgia's best-known Revolutionary War heroines. Local tradition tells of her outsmarting loyalist soldiers who entered her home. Here's the quick story. This is a cool one. A group of 5 or 6 loyalist soldiers forced their way into her cabin in the Broad River Valley, demanding she cook them dinner. Hart got them drunk while at the same time hiding their muskets, except for one which she used against them. While some stories have grown through legend, she remains an enduring symbol of courage on the American frontier. Here's the takeaway from that. Courage is not measured by size, title, or fame. You know, history books don't always remember the people doing the everyday work. Kind of like IT departments at a company until the Wi-Fi stops working, you know what I mean? Here's what we can learn from this entire group of the forgotten Americans. Freedom was never won by famous people alone. It was also protected by ordinary men and women who simply chose to do the right thing when their country needed them. Winning the revolution was only the beginning. Someone still had to build a government, write laws, create a constitution, and hold a brand new nation together. We now turn to building a new nation. The people who turned victory into a nation. Every generation inherits a country. These men helped build one. Stay with us to the end of this group because their shared takeaway may be just as relevant today as it was back in 1776. One thing I learned making this project is that the Founding Fathers wrote a lot of letters. Apparently, before text messages, people had to write 20 pages just to say, "Let's meet on Tuesday." Up next, we got John Jay, diplomat and America's first Chief Justice. John Jay helped negotiate the Treaty of Paris, which officially ended the Revolutionary War and recognized American independence. Following the war, President George Washington appointed Jay as the first Chief Justice of the United States, helping establish the authority of the nation's highest court. Here's the lesson we take away from that. Winning peace can be just as important as winning war. Roger Sherman, the great compromiser. Roger Sherman is the only person to sign all 4 of the key founding documents of the United States: Continental Association, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution during the Constitutional Convention of 1787. He helped create the Great Compromise, balancing the interests of large and small states. And here's the lesson to take away from that. Great leaders solve problems by finding common ground. Charles Carroll, the last surviving signer. This is pretty cool. Charles Carroll of Carrollton was the only Catholic to sign the Declaration of Independence. As one of the wealthiest men in America, if you could believe it at the time, with a fortune of estimated at over $2 million, he risked everything by supporting independence. His signature deliberately removed any question about his identity to ensure that the British knew who had committed treason. This act put his vast landholdings, wealth, and life in immediate jeopardy. He also became the last surviving signer of the Declaration. How cool is that? By living to be the ripe old age of 95 back then and dying in 1832. Here's the takeaway. Real commitment means risking something valuable for what you believe. Gouverneur Morris, the pen behind the Constitution. Yes, his first name really was Governor. His parents apparently wanted him to sound important right away. Gouverneur Morris played a major role in writing the final wording of the United States Constitution. In September 1787, he condensed 23 sprawling articles into the concise 7 articles of the final document. Many historians credit him with writing its famous opening words, changing the original drafts, opening from "We the people of the states" to "We the people of the United States." His words continue to shape America today. Just imagine for a second trying to write the Constitution with dozens of people arguing in one room. Actually, take it from me, all you have to do is cook in an Italian kitchen and you'll find out right away, trust me. Here's the lesson we take away from that. Sometimes the right words can guide generations. William Patterson, champion of the smaller states. William Patterson believed smaller states deserved an equal voice to prevent domination from the larger states in the new government. His ideas helped shape the compromise that gave every state equal representation in the Senate. Now, what do we learn from that? Every voice deserves to be heard. Alexander Hamilton, builder of America's financial future. Alexander Hamilton understood that winning the war was only the beginning. He helped build America's financial system, created trust in the nation's economy, and believed a strong government was necessary for the country to survive. As the first Secretary of the Treasury, 1789 to 1795, he implemented a comprehensive financial program that transformed the United States. Many of the financial institutions we know today trace their roots to his vision. What do we learn from that? Strong foundations allow great things to grow. Elbridge Gerry, the reluctant signer. Elbridge Gerry signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation at the Constitutional Convention of 1787. He was one of only 3 delegates present who refused to sign the final document. His primary objection was the lack of a Bill of Rights to protect individual liberties and his fear that the new central government would become too powerful. He later supported the Bill of Rights and served as the 5th Vice President of the United States under James Madison in 1812. His name also became connected to the word gerrymandering, reminding us that history often remembers people for unexpected reasons. And yes, gerrymandering is named after a real person, and no, he probably never imagined we'd still be talking about it 250 years later. Here's the lesson we learned from that. History often remembers one moment, but every life is much bigger than that. Last but certainly not least, James Madison, father of the Constitution. James Madison spent years studying governments from around the world before helping write the United States Constitution. Before the 1787 meeting, he researched confederacies from ancient Greece to modern Europe and drafted the Virginia Plan, which served as the primary blueprint for the new government. His careful planning and leadership earned him the title Father of the Constitution. He later helped write the Bill of Rights, protecting many of the freedoms Americans still enjoy today. He wasn't just solving the problems of his own generation, he was building a nation for generations he would never meet. Imagine that. What's the lesson? Great leaders don't simply solve today's problems, they build for people they'll never know. So reflecting back on this group of building a new nation, winning freedom was only the beginning. The harder work was building something that could last. That required wisdom, compromise, patience, and leaders willing to think beyond themselves. As I worked on this project, I realized something. The people we have talked about did exactly what we try to do here on this channel. They learned from life, they shared what they learned, they inspired others. In many ways, that may be one reason America exists today. And that brings us to one final thought. As I worked on this project, I realized something. The people we talked about didn't simply live through history, they learned from it. They took hard experiences, shared what they learned, and inspired others. That made me realize something. Here on this channel, we often say that military history is a practical philosophy. As I created this series, I realized many of our founders lived that way too. They learned from experience. They shared what they learned, they inspired others, and together they built a nation. Maybe that's the greatest takeaway from America's first 250 years. History isn't just something we study, it's something we use. Every generation has challenges. Every generation has choices. Every generation has the opportunity to leave things better than they found them. That includes ours. So whether you're leading a family, running a business, serving your community, or simply trying to become a better person, history still has something to teach us. If these stories inspired you, I hope you'll share them with someone else, because that's exactly how history continues to live on. No victory without history. Thank you for joining me as we celebrated 250 years of the United States of America. I'm Matt Canzone, and until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and never forget, military history is a practical philosophy.